In the heart of the Ashen Vale, where the soil was more gray than brown and the sky perpetually wept clouds of ash, a girl named Fira stood before the remnants of her family home. The walls, once vibrant with colors that had long faded, now leaned precariously to one side, their integrity stripped by the relentless tremors that plagued the land. Here, beneath the splintered doorframe, she felt the weight of her solitude more than ever. Fira was not like the others in her village. The others they called her kind. Those with earthblood, their veins running thick with the power and curse of the seismic. She did not belong among the frightened faces that flitted furtively away when she passed, nor did she yearn for their acceptance. Power always came with a price, and Fira had learned hers young. She could summon the ground to rise and shake with just a thought, but it would consume her if she faltered in control. Today, the ground trembled with a distant rumble, a dark promise of another season. Fira could feel it in her bones, a warning that sent chills through her body. As she knelt among the debris of her family's life, she grasped the cold, ash-laden soil, and a surge of energy thrummed beneath her skin. She took a deep breath, drawing in the air saturated with despair and determination, and closed her eyes. The village around her had begun to stir with the anticipation of the impending upheaval. Fira could see it, a flicker of dread in the eyes of those who dared to glance her way, a reflection of their fear and her own unrelenting power. She could protect them, she thought. She could bend the earth to save them from the worst of it, but deep down she knew that her reliance on her gift would only strengthen the distance between them. As twilight set in, the first jagged tremors split the ground beneath her feet. Fira gripped the earth, anchoring her energy against the trembling chaos. Tendrils of essence flowed from her, intertwining with the soil, a dance of desperation. The ground rumbled louder, a warning crescendo, and Fira clenched her teeth, channeling the quaking force into a steady pulse of stone and grit. Then she felt it, a wave of rage swelling from the bowels of the earth, demanding to be unleashed. It coursed through her, wild and insatiable, threatening to tear her apart. An unspeakable hunger for release roared beneath the surface, urging her to give in to the chaos. But she fought against it, grounding herself with every ounce of will. "Fira, get away from there!" a voice cried out, snapping her from her trance. It was Alara, her childhood friend, eyes wide with a mix of fear and something else, something that challenged the boundaries of their relationship. Fira opened her eyes, her heart racing. "I can help, Alara. I can." "No!" Alara stepped closer, her voice rising above the tumult. "You can't. They'll come for you if you try. You know that." The weight of the village's judgment hung heavily between them, but the intensity of the earth's fury could not be ignored. Fira's hand shook as she reached deeper into the ground, seeking to tame the chaotic forces. "I won't let anyone else die. I can do this. I have to." Alara shook her head, stepping back, and the widening gap between them stung. With one last look filled with unspoken words, she turned and fled into the shadows of the village, leaving Fira alone with the trembling earth and the raging storm within. Fira felt the pulse of the earth quicken beneath her feet, each tremor resonating like a drumbeat, echoing her own doubts. All around her, the village was beginning to react, faces peeking from behind cracked doors, children clutching their mothers' skirts. They were terrified yet entranced, a thrumming tension coiling around them with every quaking tremor. With a deep breath, she focused, feeling the energy surge in her veins, wild yet familiar. She extended her hands toward the ground, and with each breath, she pulled the chaos within, weaving it into a protective barrier that would shield her people from the worst of the impending disaster. The ground heaved, and she anchored herself, her resolve firming like bedrock. "Calm," she whispered, though she could hardly hear her own voice over the jarring cacophony of the earth. Calm. The word rang in her mind, a mantra to channel her power, to contain the brewing storm. Tendrils of magic danced at her fingertips as she poured her will into the very essence of the soil, willing it to listen. As the earth convulsed, fissures yawned open, threatening to swallow everything whole. With her energy coursing through the ground, Fira envisioned a web, a lattice of protective energy radiating around the village. The vibrations of the land spoke to her, and she followed the rhythm, guiding the raw power with both fear and certainty. The earth was an extension of her spirit, each crack and crevice an echo of her own pain and longing. The tremors intensified, but they were met with her rising barrier, a shimmering wall that flickered like starlight against the gathering darkness. For a moment, she felt it coalesce into something strong and unyielding, a protective dome that could shield the innocents from the chaos that lurked beneath. Yet the force of the earth's wrath was greater than she had anticipated, a wild beast determined to shake free of her grasp. As the world around her trembled and twisted into madness, doubt crept into Fira's heart. The others had always warned her about the consequences of such power, stories told in hushed tones about those who had tried to control the fury of the earth and the price they paid. Desperation gnawed at her resolve, and in that moment, faltering control, the energy within her grew tumultuous, surging like a wave ready to crash. But then, through the cacophony, she heard it, the faint sound of Alara's voice, ringing with hope. "Fira, we believe in you." Gathering strength from the thought of her friend, Fira closed her eyes once more. With a fierce determination born of love and loyalty, she dug deeper into herself, surrendering completely to the power that coursed through her. "Let the ground be still," she cried, feeling the weight of the village behind her, their collective hopes anchoring her spirit. The world around her roared in response, and she unleashed the full force of her will, a cascade of energy that echoed through the land. The barrier expanded, a pulse of light spreading outward, enveloping the village in a cocoon of warmth and safety. For a heartbeat, time stood still, the air charged with magic and possibility. Then, with a thunderous crash, the earth struck, but the barrier held firm, absorbing the force of the quake. When the dust settled, Fira opened her eyes. The world was transformed. A blanket of ash lay over the ground, but it shimmered with a delicate beauty, reflecting the remnants of her power. The village stood, battered but alive, encased in the remnants of the shimmering dome. One by one, the villagers emerged from their hiding places, awe mingling with gratitude in their eyes. Fira's chest swelled with a sense of pride, though tinged with the awareness of her sacrifice. She had held the earth at bay, but it had nearly claimed her in the process. Alara pushed her way through the crowd, her face illuminated with a mix of admiration and concern. "You did it," she exclaimed, her voice trembling. "You saved us." Fira looked around, taking in the relief painted on every face. Perhaps acceptance was still a distant wish, but in this moment, amidst the hearts that no longer turned away in fear, she understood the true essence of her power. It was not merely a mark of the other, but a wellspring of strength capable of binding them together. "I will protect you," Fira vowed softly, her voice resolute against the backdrop of a world forever changed. "We will face this together." As she stood at the edge of the Ashen Veil, Fira, the Ashen Girl, felt the earth stir with a new promise, a promise that the girl who carried its wrath could also wield its love. Together they would rebuild stronger than before, and from the ashes, rise anew.